I'm Marcos Kounalakis, a former foreign correspondent and now working at a Stanford think tank. I'm married to California's first elected woman lieutenant governor, Eleni Kounalakis, and she started out as a businesswoman who became President Obama's ambassador to Hungary. Either I'm her better half or she's mine, depends on the day. One of the better halves of this program, however, is Dan Mulhern.
I'm thrilled that you looped me in from the beginning of this project, Marcos. From the minute I get up, as you know, I'm thinking about two things, leadership and partnership. I got a great partner as you do. Mine is Jennifer Granholm, the former governor of Michigan and now U.S. Secretary of Energy. Marcos, you and I are committed to flipping the old phrase, behind every great man, there is a great woman. And we knew this podcast needed a great woman, and we've got her. We hit the jackpot with my longtime friend, Debbie Phillips.
I don't know if I'm the jackpot, but I certainly won the lottery with you two humble and dedicated better halves to your amazing, powerful spouses. During my 25-year career as an executive coach, I founded the company Women on Fire to support women's dreams and successes. I also was a business partner to my husband, Rob, for 20 years. At the height of his life and career, Rob was diagnosed with cancer and died 4 years ago. Through this podcast, I get to share some of the secrets that made our life together a home run and new secrets I'm learning every day.
Well, Debbie, we'll be sharing secrets, but also this interest that we have in partnerships and in helping men to support women who are emerging as dynamic and powerful leaders. And we asked ourselves, well, who would be the most interesting partners to fit that profile? And of course, we all came up with the exact same person.
Kamala's husband.
Right. And his real name is Doug Emhoff. I had to be in Korea the day you two got to interview him, but I got to listen, and I'll join you two in the after show to share our thoughts about what he told you. But before we get there, let's listen to the conversation as it unfolded with Dan and Debbie.
Hey, Doug.
Hi, Doug.
Hello, how are you?
We are excited, Doug, to have you as our first guest on Secrets of the Better Halves.
Doug, will you take us back to where was your first date with Kamala? What happened on that date that you knew you wanted a second date?
It might be one of the most famous blind dates in history. I had a client who came into the office, and that client turned out to be her best friend, who was then in her first term as Attorney General of California. I was a divorced dad, practicing entertainment lawyer. And I said, "You're trying to set me up with Kamala Harris?" I said, "Okay." And, fast forward that night, I was at the Laker game with a very good friend of mine, a partner from the firm in from DC. And I was telling him this story over a couple of beers. He didn't believe it. And then I said, "All right, well, I got her number from her friend. Let's send her a text." So we workshopped probably a terrible text message. And she responded with something like, "Oh, Lakers, Kobe, yay." Of course, she's this huge Warrior fan. And then I said, "All right, well, this is probably going nowhere." The next morning, I did the huge mistake of calling it 7:30 in the morning. I left her this long, rambling voicemail a la Jon Favreau and Swingers, and she didn't pick up, of course. So I figured I blew it.
My best friend set us up on a blind date, and she said, just trust me, just don't Google him." I did.
And it was that one moment of her day forever where she had to go home and meet someone who was doing some work at her apartment, and she's never free for lunch. So she was just sitting around waiting and called me, and I was at my desk eating lunch for one of the few times, and we wound up talking for 20, 30 minutes. It's like we had known each other forever. It turned out she was going to be in LA that weekend. I said, "Well, we're going out." She said, "Okay." And we went out to dinner, went out for a drink after. And I said it was love at first sight. And we've been together ever since.
Wow. She has said publicly that you emailed her the next day after the date. And in her words, "Let's see if we can make this work," that you said that. What did you mean, if we can make this work?
I was very ready to meet somebody. I had been on my own for 3 or 4 years. I dated a little bit, and I really wanted to meet somebody and have a great relationship. And I think as it turned out, she was in that exact same point in her life. And after that first date, it just, like I said, the email was something like, I'm too old to play games. This is clearly was a great first date. I don't want to hide the ball. Here are the following like 6 straight weeks that I'm available. Some of them were long weekends. She loved that it was just open and honest, and it just went from there.
Obviously, your friend's reaction said to you, she's a big deal. You felt she's a big deal. And like any of us watching, even back then, we knew this was not the upper limit, AG. So I wonder, did you ever feel like she was measuring you? Like, could you be a good man behind a great woman? Was that like an explicit topic?
No, she just love and affection and a partner. And it was great those first year or two. We really got to know each other because she was still in her first term. She did not have a massive opposition in her reelect. People knew her, but it wasn't like you can go to dinner, we can go to movies. We had a period of time to have a great basis of a real relationship that was built on love and trust, communication, and all the things that we now need to rely on in where we are now. No, I think she's going places, but I could have seen her, working in the legal profession or staying in California. No clue. But for me, it was just about, I was ready to meet someone amazing. She was ready to meet somebody. And by pure miracle of having that client meeting, we were able to have that blind date.
I don't know if we're ready for a first lady named Doug. I don't know. Doug, huh?
Oh, he is the most fully actualized person you've ever met.
And I think me evolving into where I am now was purely because she became vice president. In her Senate days, even during her primary, I was full-time entertainment lawyer based in LA.
Did you have any idea, though, what it would be like to become her better half, especially now? And what would you say is like the number one way you serve as her better half?
First and foremost, I'm her husband. I'm there to support her as Doug Emhoff, someone who loves her, has her back, someone she can always rely on, always talk to, and be there for her. And I think that's how I approach this. I also know leaning in to being second gentleman and embracing the role and trying to be really good at it, it helps her, it helps the president, it helps the administration. And that's also a way of being a good supportive spouse. And I will say, she helps me too. It's a two-way street in terms of our relationship in every aspect. This is all new to me, or it was 2.5 years ago. And she knew that. And she knew I was stepping away from a career that I was very good at, successful, and that I love. And she knew that this was going to be a transition. And she was so supportive and helpful, and still is. There are times when I'll talk to her about issues that I'm working on, especially this fight against anti-Semitism and hate.
There's an epidemic of hate facing our country. We're seeing a rapid rise in anti-Semitic rhetoric and acts. Let me be clear, words matter.
This is one that she and also the president have really pushed me into. So it's not a one-way street.
I think it's awesome that you have this clarity of a personal role as primary and then a professional role as well. And I want to stay on the personal side of it just for a minute. You've talked about toxic masculinity. And so I want to sort of stay in that space for a minute and just say, I was deeply shaped as a boy to have a protective role, whether it was my mom, my sisters, opening the door for my grandmother to get out of the car. I was schooled in that. What's it been like for you? Do you have the impulse to protect? I mean, your wife in this first term, she's not been treated kindly by people. And so I wonder if you can just share with us as a man, what's the experience like for you in that?
First, I was raised by 2 amazing parents. My father is such a strong man, and he shows his strength by loving his family and supporting his family and supporting my mom and my brother and sister and everyone around him. So I had an incredible role model, and I saw how he was. And he was a woman's shoe designer by trade, but he's also one of the toughest men I know. So I think that was a great inspiration. I've also been around a strong mother, a sister, and being in the entertainment industry, I've been around a lot of successful, strong women. And so for me, being respectful and protective of my family and those I love, but also speaking out for women's rights and gender equity and pushing back against all this stuff that's happening to erode what women have and making them feel less than. That's all comes from how I was raised. I didn't just get to this because I happen to be married to Kamala Harris. I'm very, very protective of her and those I love. But it's also, I try to do everything with respect and kindness and decency and ethics and morals and all those things that sometimes in the society where you're conflating what it means to be a man with sometimes acting angrily and things like that. But again, it starts with my upbringing, and it's been a line right through to how I approach this role. And in terms of, I've been asked this a lot, in terms of whatever criticism she's facing. She's Vice President of the United States. That comes with the territory. It really does not affect her. It all bounces off her, and she just keeps doing what she's doing for the American people each and every day. She does it with love and with joy and with enthusiasm, and she's so inspiring. So I don't care what anything's written. I know what I see, and I see her on the world stage. I see world leaders in our home. I see thousands of people coming to see her, lining the streets. So I know what's really happening out there. So that's what we focus on, and that's what I focus on.
The well-known relationship therapist, Dr. Stan Tatkin, talks about staying strong in your couple bubble and how important that is with just the two of you. And so one of the things that he says, it's really important to wake up together. It's really important to put each other to bed at night. And it's also important to consistently have new and unique things in your life. You two probably have no trouble with new and unique things in your life every day. Would you tell us some of the things that you and Kamala do just to stay deeply connected each day? Do you have rituals that you always do each day, no matter where you are in the world?
The mornings are busy. So if we happen to be in the same city, mornings, as you can imagine, are how to get the Vice President of the United States ready for her day, and then the second gentleman with my full schedule. So the mornings are not the time for coupledom and doing all the things you'd probably want to do if we had a leisurely morning and could kibitz. That's the time to be ready to get out the door. And that is me reading what I need to, her reading what she has to. And I do try to be helpful and be around to help her get out the door if she's got binders and calls and all these things. And then I try to leave after, so make sure she's on her way, that I'm on my way. And then during the day, we're just both either traveling or doing our events. So we really don't get to connect at all during the day. And we can't text each other, which even on those mundane, couple types of things, if those do come up during the day, we have to figure out a way to, if we're both in DC, get over to each one of the other's office or figure out a time to chat. So it's pretty hard until the nighttime where we really try to have dinner together. And dinner's the time where we can have some Doug and Kamala time, not VP and second gentleman time, where that's where we talk about the kids, our families, we talk about normal couple of things. How are you doing? How was your day? Not what did you do, but how was it? Kinds of things. And then look, a lot of times I joke when I'm out on the road meeting with folks, and it's like, I live with the vice president, and she's going to say, Dougie, how was your day? And I will be talking about you because she's interested and also wants to know what's happening. And so oftentimes if I'm on the road or at an event, I'm just giving her a direct download to what I've been working on. So it's pretty unique. We do try to wind up in the same city at night. And that sometimes means taking really late flights and not staying over so we can at least have that time together. But it's definitely different in terms of that couple time. The times that we do have it, we really try to take advantage of it and not waste it.
That's so great. And I think you revealed your pet name, Dougie.
That's her name for me. You got it. You got it out of me.
We got it out of you.
But she's not hiding it. We'll be, wherever she's like, Dougie.
I love this. And, the show is called Secrets of the Better Halves. And you've shared what works for you, the idea of the morning that, my business partner who's got a 2-year-old son and a working husband, that's just such practical advice to don't expect big stuff in the morning. I love that.
That's right, Dan. It's setting expectations too, because neither of us expect to have that quality time in the morning. And that's important. We both know that. So if one is like, hey, I need some attention right now, don't do it when we're both trying to get out of the house as vice president and second gentleman. That's really that time over dinner where that's really that time.
Yeah. One thing that we believe in right from the title, Secrets of the Better Halves, is that it's not about who's the better half. It's not really better. It's how can you be a better half? And the two of you, in this case, I mean, you and the vice president, are both in what are classically thought of as second chair roles. You're not leading as big as you both are. You're leading from the second chair in a way. And so I'm curious about whether you and Kamala, as people thinking about yourself in roles, have some affinity in that way, that she knows she serves the president, and you're so beautifully open and humble about how you serve her. And I wonder, does that create some kind of bond and some kind of leveling almost between the two of you?
It's interesting. I've not thought of it that way until you've mentioned it. I've talked about how I am with her. We are equals, we're partners, and I like how you frame the show. We're halves of each other, not one is better than the other. And I think she certainly, with me, is so gracious and kind, and also with me as vice president to second gentleman, because I work in the office of vice president. So in my day job, she's my boss. But even in that role, it's really how can she help me succeed and get the best out of me. In terms of them, I love seeing them together. It's such a beautiful, amazing relationship, how supportive they are of each other. You can see the affection, the kindness, and the empathy, and you can see why they're both such great leaders, and they're just such a great team together because they're both lifetime public servants. I think the only time president was not, it was those couple of years in between, but they both see the world as what can we do to make this world better? How can we do it together? I don't see any, one upspersonship with either one of them with the other. So I just love any time that the four of us are together, or that I can be in the room when I see the two of them together. And look, the American people in the world benefits from that great relationship that they have.
And First Lady Jill Biden was second lady. I wondered if she had any advice to you about being a better half when you took over.
She's given me some great advice. And a lot of it is she's so practical. I did ask her when I was becoming second gentleman, I said, well, okay, you've been a Senate spouse, you've been second lady. Any tips? And she's like, look, just be yourself. And you won't believe me even if I told you how it is, because until you live through it, you don't really understand. And then you're the first man. She's the first woman. Times have changed. And look at the environment we took over in. So she just said, you just got to be authentic, because everyone can smell a phony. So just be yourself and lean into that and you'll be fine. But she said, number one, you're here to support her. And that's kind of been my North Star in this all throughout.
Your authenticity it really just comes right through the earbuds. It's really amazing. Okay, you've been really generous with your time. We know you have a lot to do. So we're going to do a super quick lightning round. I'm going to go first, then Debbie. How has your golf game improved or gotten worse since becoming second gentleman?
Way worse. I can't even track my index anymore. It's too stressful. So I barely play. I'm too busy doing what I'm doing.
Okay. Which one of you is the first one to apologize?
We both do. We're always really on the same page. But I think our communication is so good. I think when one of us realizes we've done something the other would not appreciate, I think we're both pretty quick to apologize when warranted.
Okay, I'm going to make you brag. What do you do for your wife that makes her super happy that she married you?
I eat all of her cooking because she's an amazing cook. That is her thing. She loves to cook for me, for her family. And I'm just so open to being her sous chef when I can and trying things. She's most happy when she's able to make her family happy. A lot of times she expresses her deep love for her family through cooking for us.
What's your best dish?
I love her bolognese. She makes it from scratch, sometimes over a couple of days. And even as vice president, I've seen her make it with phone in hand, talking about stuff. Or she'll say, Dougie, take the spoon. I got to go take this call and be vice president. So I'll start stirring it for her. But there's many good ones.
Okay, last question. You've done amazing things in a lot of places in your public role, elevating women, helping men get free of toxic masculinity, spotlighting anti-Semitism. I know you've been out on the trail with my wife, opening 160 amazing battery plants that we didn't have in America before. Where do you most feel like we're really making an impact and you feel gratified by that?
You can see the effect all over the country on all types of Americans. So, for instance, your wife and I, Secretary Granholm, were just in Oklahoma touting the administration's support of clean energy.
I just want to personally welcome Secretary Jennifer Granholm to the great state of Oklahoma and second gentleman Doug Emhoff. Let's give them a big round of applause.
And that was geothermal, it was batteries, it was wind, it was solar, and working with universities. We had the governor, the mayor, all in the other party, so excited to have us there because we're talking about jobs. We're talking about good paying jobs that are going to help clean up our environment and allow us to compete in the future. And I love when I go into a city and the mayor or the city manager will thank me because the work of this administration helped keep those municipalities open during COVID. We helped bring children out of poverty. We're now building bridges and roads and tunnels, increasing broadband. And we mentioned climate. We've made the biggest investment in climate in history. And you're seeing the effects of that. And people are realizing that all these things that this administration has done are making a massive impact on people's everyday lives. So when I get to see that and be a part of it, it's just a great feeling.
One last quick question is our partner's Marcos Kounalakis. You know each other, and he is the husband of Lieutenant Governor Eleni Kounalakis.
He's my second gentleman in my home state.
Do you have any advice for him or any male partner who is a better half of a powerful female in politics or entertainment or any industry?
We need more Kamala Harris's and Eleni's and Secretary Granholm's. We need more women in leadership. We need more women running for office. We need more women going for that promotion. We need more women leaders in the military. So I've been asking, what do you want your legacy to be? And that's what my legacy is. We want more women in leadership. So Marcos, just keep doing what you're doing to support her. That's the right thing to do. And he's got a big career, he's a smart guy, successful. You got to be yourself, but she's got this chance. You've got to really go for it and help. And that sets an example. So down the line, we're going to have more women leaders all around the country. So that's what it's all about.
Well, Second Gentleman Emhoff, we are so happy to be able to give you a platform for this fantastic message. We appreciate your time. You're doing so much for the country, and we'll do our best to get your voice heard. Thank you so much.
Thank you both. Thanks for having me on, and I really appreciate it. See you soon.
That was a fascinating conversation, but it doesn't end here. Join us for the after show where we all exhale and share our thoughts. You can find it in your podcast feed right now. See you there.
We hope you enjoyed Secrets of the Better Halves. We invite you to go to Apple Podcasts and leave an honest 5-star rating and write a positive review. On Spotify, click the 3 dots and rate the show. It'll help more people like you find us. And wherever you're listening, click the follow button so you never miss an episode.